Welcome to the Inspirational Corner with me, your host, Stylisha Bolton, where we encourage you here to live bold, live loud, and live authentically without apology. Welcome to another episode, everyone. And I am excited as always to know that you decided to listen in to this podcast in this episode. And if this is your first time listening in, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button here on YouTube where you can listen to old episodes of my podcast. And while you are here, I also encourage you to share this podcast with anyone you know that want to be inspired, uplifted, and empowered by our topics and subjects that we cover here on the Inspirational Corner. So let's get into today's episode, everyone. Today I am going to be talking about how to live your best life. Now, that term seems to be a consistent term that everyone uses. And a lot of people don't understand that actually in 2018, the rapper slash comedian Lil Duval coined the term living your best life from his song entitled Smile, living your best life. And so a lot of people from 2018, that's been a consistent term people use. Like, I'm living my best life. I'm living my best life. So what does it really mean to live your best life? How can you live your best life in spite of circumstances, things that you go through? Or if you look at the whole spectrum of 2020, how can you choose to really live your best life? And so sometimes we allow fear to cripple us from truly enjoying a fulfilling life. We become stagnant. We just stop really living. Like, if you think about 2020, a lot of people just, especially at the beginning, a lot of people kind of just gave up and just was like, really, I think we all were in kind of shock. But if you think about it now, as we get closer to the end of the year, a lot of us are still struggling and dealing with so many different things, financially, economically, mentally, emotionally, whatever circumstances that we find ourselves in, we're trying to continue to move forward through all that's going on and the shifts and changes in the political realm and systems and just everything. And a lot of people are finding themselves frustrated, and they have allowed fear to hold them back, and they have allowed fear to dictate to them how they're going to live their life. Or fear is actually, they truly are allowing fear to keep them back from really living their life. And I think it's important that when we have fear come, that we examine fear. There is no such thing as living a fearless life. I believe that you're going to deal with fear, but the reason I believe people say fearless, meaning that you can fear less, that you don't have to let fear or allow fear to control your life and control the decisions you make. Because even when you do allow fear to control your life, you have to understand that you are choosing to not move forward. You allowing that fear to keep you mediocre or stagnant. And many times when we operate in fear, we're focusing on the lack and what we don't have, and we become anxious and worried. I know me, for myself, just being a little transparent, I deal with worry a lot, anxiety and worrying all the time. And especially as being a single mom, and especially when my daughter was younger. She's older now. She's getting older. She just graduated from high school. But even with that, she's trying to map out the life that she wants right now. And with the pandemic, that kind of discouraged her, and from taking the steps that she wanted to take. And as a mother, just because she's getting older does not mean I stop being her mother. My role changes in her life. And I told her, well, you just finished with high school. You spent kindergarten to 12th grade. I told her, you spent the majority of your life in school. Take time to rest, take time to recalibrate and focus on which direction you want to go. There is no rush. I always tell my daughter, you don't have to prove anything to anybody or feel like you have to prove anything to external forces, whether it's people, things and stuff, because I told her people are going to believe and think what they want to think no matter what. You can do A, B, C, D, but people still going to choose to have their own opinion, and you can't control their opinion of your life. You have to be secure and confident on the direction you want to go. So I always tell her that. And so just like with telling my daughter that it's important that we continue to reevaluate and self-assess on our life. And living your best life does not mean that you're not going to deal with fear. It does not mean that fear is not going to come up, but you have to know how to navigate through the fear, because sometimes fear can become a dominant force that can steer us in the wrong direction, which in return end up self-sabotaging our steps of moving forward and opportunities that lie ahead. And I know for me, like I said before, because at the time, and especially at the early stages, when my daughter was younger, I would worry so much, financially, but not I don't think really. I think I didn't start worrying until I got, completed my military career, and I no longer was getting the pay that I was getting, because I was young when I had her. I was 22 when I had my oldest daughter, and I didn't know what to do. And then my 2-year-old daughter that passed away, I had her around when I was maybe 25. So I had my oldest daughter at 22, and then my 2-year-old that passed away, I had her at 25. So being a young mother in my 20s, I had the stability and the consistency of the military, but I didn't even realize at the time that I was still operating in lack and fear. It was just covered up because I was getting a paycheck every 1st and 15th, and basically I was not mentally mature on how to handle my money. And that's okay, because in your 20s, I don't think, not a lot of people are mature enough to handle their money. But I was living from paycheck to paycheck. And then when I got out the military at the age of 28, dealing with a lot of other things that I've discussed in my other podcasts, and with the transition of finishing my military career, moving forward, and having to raise my oldest daughter on top of the loss and the death of my youngest daughter, it was a lot. It was actually extreme for me. And so end up living in a place where I had no family, no friends, and it was mentally, emotionally challenging for me living here in South Carolina, and knowing that it wasn't really for me, and it's still not. I think it has served its purpose, especially for my daughter to be raised in a stable place. And we live in a great neighborhood. I'm very grateful. But as far as other things, how vibrant me and her are, we just need a place with a pause. But with that said, I had to be faced with the question of how was I going to live my best life after dealing with disappointment, unforeseen circumstances, and now being in a financial place where the money I was making was not at all compared to what I, was making before. So I, in the last 13 and a half years, I had to go through so many different things. And I had to be faced with, how can I live my best life in a place that I necessarily don't find is for me, and I may not particularly like it, or it's not my cup of tea, but how can I not allow my environment to control my happiness and my attitude? And I think it's important that we find things that we enjoy to live our best life. Living your best life is a blatant statement, but you have to be productive, and not only productive, the key word is intentional on living your best life. Like I said, a lot of people will say, oh, I'm living my best life. They will post a picture on Instagram and say, oh, I'm living my best life. But living your best life has nothing to do with an Instagram post or those that deal with Facebook. I'm not a Facebook person, but a Facebook post. Living your best life is taking authority and dominion over the life you have, being grateful and being determined and, again, intentional about creating a life that is going to work for you and implementing what makes you happy. Because how we all define happiness is a personal thing. How we define success is also a personal thing. So I want to give you all 3 ways how you can live your best life and not allow fear, your circumstances, and certain situations to stop you from moving forward in living your best life. Because as long as we're living and breathing in this human experience, because life is a human experience, and as long as because we're human, and because we are human beings, we are being in the moment and being present. Just because we are here doesn't mean we have to live a life filled with misery, always going through, always struggling. I don't believe that is God's will. I believe it is God's will for us to find our purpose, and not only just find our purpose, but to live life with purpose, passion, desire, enjoyment, love, peace. I believe that, and everything that I've been through in the last 13 and a half years, like I said before, from the transition of finishing my military career, taking care of my oldest daughter, dealing with the death of my youngest daughter, and also my oldest daughter, dealing with the death of her baby sister. It has been a lot in my life. And so when I have, like, I call these things like really roaches, like, you know how when roaches come there, you could kill a roach, and so they mediocre, right? So when I call these mediocre situations that are like roaches, that's really nothing, that come up in my life that stress me out, and I kind of flip out, and I'm processing through that, and I'm learning to not to do that, because that's not healthy. And I have learned to take control over what I can control, and creating a life that's going to benefit me. Even through the pandemic, even what we're going through now, you can find ways on how the pandemic can benefit your life, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, and all of the above. So I want to give you all 3 ways on how you can truly live your best life in spite of what's going on. The first thing you need to do in order to live your best life is make a choice. Get clear on what you want. Make a decision. Like I said before, don't allow fear to hold you back. Make a decision. Stick with the decision you made, and be at peace with the decision that you have made for your life and yourself. It's okay to get outside opinions, but at the end of the day, you have to assess what is best for you, what is important for your life, your situation, your household. Other people will give their opinions. Other people will state what's best for you. But at the end of the day, you have to get clear on what is best for you by making a decision. And just remember, when you say, oh, I'm confused or I don't know, it's because you are not putting in the work to take the time to gain clarity on the decision you need to make. Not making a decision is also making a decision. And the second thing you need to do in order to live your best life is get tunnel vision. Get so focused that it's a quote that says, starve your distractions but feed your focus. You have to starve all the things that's distracting you, whether it's family, friends, insignificant things that you are wasting your time, money, and energy on. These insignificant things that's taking you away from your ultimate goal and outcome are distractions. So you have to get tunnel vision, and you have to become very focused on your goals. And my thing is, if it's not leading you in the direction of your goals, then you need to tune it out. You need to ignore it. And I know it's easier said than done, because life happens and you have so many things pulling you in different directions. But I am a firm believer, once I get focused and get clarity and get clear on what I want to do, then nothing else is going to stop me from doing what I want to do. So that tunnel vision is always important. And number 3, the last thing to live your best life, you got to move forward. If you remember the Disney movie Nemo, and I call it the Nemo mindset, and Dory was just telling Nemo, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, keep swimming, keep swimming. And I gave the example how, living in a place that was really very mentally, emotionally, and financially challenging for me, and even environmentally challenging for me, living where I'm still living in the South, in South Carolina. It was just different. It wasn't what I was used to. And I always, when I have different conversations with people, whether they from here or not, and I say South Carolina, because it's a very touristy place. Charleston is a very touristy place, and I live like in the a small town on a little maybe like 10 to 15 minutes from the main city of Charleston. My thing is that I always tell them, this is not the place to start your life all over. It's truly not. If you are not already established, or coming here already, being established in your career or job, and you just want to either retire, because a lot of older people, like 70, 80, I see mostly people here, and it's very family oriented. Like if you don't have young kids, I think it's more truly the younger kids get an advantage here than like my daughter age and stuff like that. So if you're here and you're not already coming established, I know for me personally, because I finished the military and kind of starting from scratch trying to build, it was rough, and it was very discouraging. It was very depressing, and it was hard. And with that said, I, of course, got out and I have made the best of this environment. But sometimes you have to know when to move forward. You have to know when like a friend of mine said, that the current is not working for you, but you're working against the current, which creates exhaustion. And you gotta have the strength to pick up more momentum to move forward. But when you're in a place where it's just not working for you, and you're exhausting more of your physical, mental, and emotional energy to move forward and move through the current, instead of the current is flowing with you and working with you, that is totally different. So I understand that this particular place for me is not for me. It's okay. I enjoy the tourism here and everything. However, there are certain things that I need and my daughter likes, that we're just used to, multiculturalism, diversity as a whole, that is not here for me. I enjoy certain things, the arts here, art galleries and museums and jazz and stuff like that, because those things are me. But when it comes to multiculturalism, diversity, what I'm used to, what me and my daughter both used to, that's not here. The vibrantness of a town or city, it's just a lot slower. And that's just not for me, and that's okay. However, I have consistently and constantly moved forward and not allowed the things in my environment to get within me. And, I have found joy in other ways. This has been a perfect place for me to heal, for my daughter to heal, for her to finish school. Um, because we are blessed. I always say I'm blessed and grateful because God is so good, because we live in a nice neighborhood. I have a nice home, and everything has flowed, and it has been purposeful in the fact for her, for me to raise her. So it has served its purpose. But when you are in an environment that no longer serve you and you're not happy, it's time to move forward and move on. So that is the third key of living your best life, having that Nemo mindset and just keep swimming. So I think it's important that living your best life is a personal thing. It's an intentional thing. And like I said, let me go back over the three points I said. In order to live your best life and to continue to intentionally change things in your life, in order to have certain things to fit you, like I said, everybody, success and happiness and joy, those are personal things for each person. In order to have these things, to live your best life, is make a choice, get clear on what you want, get tunnel vision, let the distractions go, focus on your goals, tune out the noise, and move forward. Be like, have a Nemo mindset, keep swimming. And I just want to say, I thank you so much for listening in today to this episode, How to Live Your Best Life. And until next time, everybody, have a beautiful week. And I'll check you on the next episode with the Inspirational Corner. And just remember, we always encourage you to live your best life by living bold and living loud and living authentically without apology. Have a great week, everyone.